Never say, "Hi, how are you?" You know why, because you don't mean it. Because they don't either. Because the question is a ritual, a soft door that leads nowhere, and you have walked through it 1,000 times and found only a hallway of small talk. You want to be remembered, not for noise, for presence, for the way a room changes when you step into it awake. Notice what happens when you greet someone on autopilot. Your mouth moves, your eyes skim, your mind splits into a dozen tabs. You offer a script, they offer a script back, two masks nodding politely while the people underneath wait, slightly lonely, slightly bored, hoping for something real to happen. You can feel the hollowness. It's in the tone that drops at the end of your sentence. It's in the way your body leans out, even as your words lean in. You ask, they answer. Neither of you lands. Nothing anchors. Nothing touches. But there is another way to enter a conversation. A door without hinges or noise. A way that begins not with information, but with attention. You don't need charm. You don't need a clever line. You need to be here fully for 2 or 3 seconds longer than everyone else. You are about to learn 4 words, not magic, not manipulation. An instrument, simple enough to memorize, powerful enough to change the weight of your voice and the warmth of your silence. You will use them and people will feel something they rarely feel in a greeting. They will feel seen. And long after you leave, they will recall the sensation of being met rather than managed. Before the words, you need a shift. You need to step out of the performance of meeting and into the experience of meeting. You do that by pausing. Let your breath arrive before your mouth does. Let your eyes rest, not stare. Feel the ground under your feet, the air on your face, the simple miracle that you are alive at the same time as this other person. Then speak. From there, anything you say carries the scent of reality. This isn't about being impressive. You have tried that. The clever quip, the quick compliment, the overbright, "How's it going?" Tossed like confetti that floats and falls and is swept away. You don't need to add glitter. You need to remove noise. You need to say less and mean more. Imagine the first seconds of contact as a tuning note before the song. Every instrument in the orchestra takes a breath and turns the dial until the room hums with the same pitch. You set that pitch, not with volume, with honesty. If what you are hearing already stirs something quiet in you, an ache to speak from a truer place, to be felt instead of merely noticed, then you can choose right now to stay with this practice. You subscribe not to a channel, but to a different rhythm of attention. If that commitment helps you remember later, you can hit subscribe now and keep listening with both ears. Because the next time you meet a stranger, a colleague, a lover at the end of a long day, you won't hand them a script. You will offer them a moment. And in that moment, you will not be ordinary. You will be here. You will be human. You will be remembered. The 4 words are coming. Let your mind lean in. Let your body soften. Notice the tingle of curiosity in your chest. That is the doorway. Step through. The emptiness of automatic language. You say it without thinking. They answer without listening. "Hi, how are you?" "I'm fine, how are you?" 2 lines passed back and forth like receipts, thin slips of paper that prove nothing happened. You have lived inside this ritual so long, it almost feels natural. But deep down, you know it isn't. You know the moment you speak, the words fall to the ground with no weight. No one remembers them. No one even hears them. Think of how many people you've greeted this way, hundreds, maybe thousands. How many of those moments do you actually recall? How many left an imprint? Almost none. Because nothing alive passed between you. When you greet someone with empty words, you rob yourself of presence. You shrink to the size of a script, a cardboard cutout of yourself. And the other person does the same. 2 shadows passing in daylight. 2 ghosts rehearsing politeness. It feels safe, doesn't it? Safe to stick to the pattern. safe to let your tongue do the work while your soul hides. But safety here is the opposite of life. It is the death of curiosity, the burial of connection before it even begins. Ask yourself this: do you really want to spend your life being forgettable? Do you want to walk through the world leaving no trace in the memory of others, except that you were polite enough to ask a question you didn't mean? Alan Watts once suggested that life is play, but play requires risk. A child doesn't rehearse a greeting before speaking to a friend. They don't hide behind "how are you?" They burst out with whatever is real in the moment. That is why children feel so alive, because they haven't yet been trained to be forgettable. The truth is uncomfortable. You have been trained to use words as fillers instead of bridges. And every time you obey this training, you waste a chance to be seen. The clock ticks, the faces pass, and all that remains is the dust of habit. But imagine another way. Imagine entering a conversation where the air shifts, where the person across from you suddenly feels awake, as if something unusual has begun. Imagine their eyes lingering, their body turning toward you, because for once they felt something genuine at the threshold of words. This is what automatic greetings steal from you. They erase the spark at the very start. And if the beginning is hollow, the rest rarely matters. So you are left with a choice: continue rehearsing the polite emptiness that no one remembers, or risk a pause, risk a silence, risk the strange music of saying something that matters. Because the moment you stop being automatic, you start being unforgettable. The desire to be remembered and seen. Everywhere you go, you carry a quiet hunger. Not for food, not for money, for recognition. You want to be remembered. Not because of vanity, but because of something deeper. To know that your existence touched another, even for a moment. To feel that you were not invisible in the blur of days. Think about the last time someone surprised you with real presence. Maybe they looked directly into your eyes and didn't rush away. Maybe they said something small but strangely precise, something that pierced through the fog of habit. You remember it, don't you? The words might fade, but the sensation lingers, the warmth of being noticed, the rare gift of mattering. This is what you crave. And this is what everyone around you craves too. Yet most of us keep repeating the very words that guarantee we'll never satisfy that craving. Hi, how are you? We cling to the script and wonder why no one remembers us. The paradox is painful. You want to be unforgettable, yet you greet others in ways designed to be forgotten. You want to feel connection, yet you choose language that ensures distance. You want to shine, yet you wrap yourself in the camouflage of politeness. Look closely at the people you meet. Behind their rehearsed smiles, you will see the same longing in them. The co-worker answering emails, the stranger at the store, even the friend you've known for years. They too want to be seen. They too are tired of masks. They too are starving for a moment of truth. When you offer that moment, even for 5 seconds, you become different from everyone else. Not louder, not more charming, simply more real. And reality is magnetic. It pulls people in because deep down they recognize themselves in it. The truth is this: people don't remember what you said. They remember how you made them feel. They remember if you startled them awake, even gently, from the sleep of routine. They remember if you broke the spell of automatic words. So ask yourself, what do you want to leave behind in the memory of others? Do you want to be the 100th echo of the same polite question, drowned out before the sound even fades? Or do you want to be the rare voice that pierced through the noise, the one that left a mark not because it was clever, but because it was real? If this reflection stirs something in you, if you feel that restless ache to be remembered, to break free of the ordinary, then I invite you to stay with this journey. Not every video will give you answers, but every step here will invite you into deeper presence. And if you want that presence to keep knocking at your door, you can subscribe now, not for information, but for transformation. Because the desire to be remembered is not about ego, it is about life calling life, and you have the power with the simplest of words to answer that call. The 4 words. You have been waiting, waiting for the secret, waiting for the 4 words. And here is the truth. They are not complicated. They are not ancient, hidden in dusty scriptures. They are not clever lines designed to trick someone into liking you. They are simple, direct, alive. The 4 words are, it's good to see you. Notice how your body reacts when you hear them. A small shift, a softening, a feeling that perhaps, for once, you are not just another face passing in the crowd. Because this greeting does something rare. It acknowledges existence. It says, without decoration, you matter right now. Contrast that with, hi, how are you? That phrase is a question without listening, a sound tossed out to fill space. But it's good to see you is not a question at all. It is a statement. It carries warmth. It carries attention. It is harder to ignore because it lands like a gentle hand on the shoulder. When you use these words, you give a gift. You tell someone they are visible. You remind them they are not a ghost drifting through the day. You make them feel, if only for a moment, that their presence matters. This is why people remember you, not because you dazzled them, not because you impressed them, but because you allowed them to feel real in your company. Think about the power of this shift. You walk into a room. Everyone is caught in the blur of routines and screens. You greet one person, not with the hollow script, but with presence. It's good to see you. Immediately, the air changes. They look at you longer. They respond with more life in their voice. The conversation that follows feels different, deeper, easier. You did not cast a spell. You simply spoke from presence, and presence is irresistible. Now consider this. You might not always feel like saying it. Some days you're tired, distracted, caught in your own storm, but if you pause, breathe, and say it with sincerity, you will notice something strange. By making the other person feel real, you remind yourself that you are real too. Connection is always mutual. This is the forgotten art of communication, not to perform, not to impress, but to awaken the sense of being alive, first in them and then in you. So try it. The next time you are about to say, "Hi, how are you?" Stop, catch yourself. Look at the person as if for the first time and simply say, "It's good to see you." Watch what happens. Watch how they shift. Watch how you shift. That small sentence carries more weight than 100 polite questions. Because it doesn't ask for information, it offers recognition. If you feel the pull to practice this in your own life, share it below. Comment the words, "It's good to see you," not for me, but for yourself. Let it sink into your memory so the next time you meet someone, you remember to break the script, because this is not a trick. It is a way of being, a way of stepping into reality, word by word, moment by moment. The power of presence. The words themselves are simple, but what gives them power is not the language. It is the state you carry into them, presence. That is the real secret. You can whisper, "It's good to see you," with your mind elsewhere, and it will fall flat. You can say it with your body leaning away, your eyes already searching for an exit, and the person will feel the hollowness. But if you are here, if you let your breath settle, if you look into their face as though it matters, suddenly the words vibrate with life. They land, they stay. Presence is rare in this world. Most people live with their attention fractured into 1,000 pieces. Their body is here, their mind is there, their heart is locked somewhere else entirely. That is why conversations so often feel empty. No one is home. But when you are present, people can feel it instantly. They may not know how to describe it, but they sense a weight, a warmth, a steadiness. It is like walking into a noisy cafe and finding one quiet table in the corner. Something in you relaxes. The nervous system recognizes safety, and in that safety connection becomes possible. This is why presence attracts. It is not about performance, not about cleverness, not about charisma in the usual sense. It is about being fully here without rushing to the next thing. And that is magnetic, because everyone is starved for it. Think of the people you remember most in your life. Not the ones who tried too hard, not the ones who always had the sharpest joke or the smartest comment. You remember the ones who made you feel calm in their company. You remember the ones who listened without interrupting, who gave their full attention without making you earn it. That is presence. That is what lingers when the words fade. And here's the paradox. When you stop trying to be impressive, you become unforgettable. When you stop pushing for connection, you create it. When you stop performing, you start being. So the 4 words, "It's good to see you," are only the doorway. The house you step into is presence. Without it, the words are just ink on paper. With it, they become alive. Now imagine carrying this into every interaction. The colleague at work who expects the usual greeting, the friend you haven't spoken to in months, the stranger behind the counter. Each of them is waiting, silently, for someone to break the pattern. Each of them is hoping, perhaps without knowing, for someone to see them. When you choose presence, you become that someone. And here is the deeper secret. Presence heals not only others, but you. The moment you pause and really meet another human being, your own mind quiets, your own anxiety softens. You remember that life is not a checklist, not a rush from one obligation to the next. Life is here, in this breath, in this exchange, in this face looking back at you. So don't underestimate the power of a simple shift. Your presence is the real gift. The words are only the wrapping. If you are ready to practice this, not just once, but again and again, then stay close to these reflections. Subscribe, not for entertainment, but as a reminder. Each time we return here, it is another chance to slow down, to root yourself in what is real, and to bring that presence into the world. Because in the end, attraction is not about pulling others toward you. It's about dropping so fully into yourself that others cannot help but be drawn to the silence, the steadiness, the life that flows through you. That is the true power of presence. The circle closes. Think back to the beginning, the phrase you have spoken 1,000 times. "Hi, how are you?" Now it feels different, doesn't it? Now you can see it for what it really is, a veil, a soft wall between two people, a habit that hides life instead of revealing it. You don't need that anymore. Because you have something else. 4 words that are simple, human, alive. It's good to see you. But remember, this was never about words alone. It was about the state you carry into them, your breath, your pause, your willingness to stand in the moment without rushing to escape. That is what makes the words magnetic. That is what makes you unforgettable. So from now on, every greeting can be a choice between habit and presence, between the emptiness of scripts and the fullness of sincerity, between being polite and being real. When you choose presence, something beautiful happens. The world begins to remember you, not for your cleverness, not for your performance, but for the quiet truth of your attention. People will not always recall the exact words you spoke, but they will remember how it felt to be seen by you. And that memory is what lingers, long after the conversation is over. Alan Watts often said that life is not a problem to be solved, but a dance to be experienced. And these 4 words are your first step into that dance. They are an opening note, a small act of rebellion against the emptiness of routine. They remind you and everyone you meet that connection is not complicated. It is as simple as showing up. So the next time you meet someone, pause, look, breathe, and let the words rise naturally. It's good to see you. Watch how the air shifts. Watch how they soften. Watch how you soften too. Because in the end, it was never about attracting anyone, it was about awakening. And when you are awake, connection happens on its own. Attraction happens on its own. Life happens on its own. If you've walked with me to this point, then you already know the truth. Presence is the secret, and you carry it with you. So carry it into your next conversation. Carry it into your life. Carry it into this moment now. And if you want to keep returning to this space, if you want gentle reminders to slow down and step out of the script, then subscribe. Not for me, for you, so that each week you remember again and again, the power was never in the words. It was always in the way you chose to be, because in the end, it really is good to see you, and it always will be.